Hey friends, it's your pal Mike Shea from Sly Flourish, here with another episode of Sly Flourish's Lazy GM Prep. In this weekly show, I go through steps from Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master while preparing for my Sunday role-playing game. In this case, I am running a Tales of the Valiant game set in the world of Midgard called Scourge of the Dragon Empire, based on the Midgard World Book and the Tales of the Valiant 5e system by Kobold Press. This show, like all of the work of Sly Flourish, is brought to you by the patrons of Sly Flourish. Patrons get access to all kinds of cool tools, tips, tricks, source books, scenarios, adventures, and other great things. They get access to the awesome Lazy DM community over on Discord, and they help me put on shows like this. To the patrons of Sly Flourish, thank you so much for your outstanding support. If you get nothing else from today's show, I'm going to offer 3 tips. These are 3 tips that have come from the last hour of me doing my prep, but you're watching this at the beginning of the video. It's kind of like time travel. We already know some of the tips that are going to come up later in the show, but I'm putting them here. So what are the 3 tips? One is that when you're reviewing the characters, the step 1 of the 8 steps of Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master, there's actually a number of different things that you can quote unquote review. In this session, one of the things that I reviewed was secrets and clues that were relevant to the characters and tied them to the story. So you'll see that when I'm going through them. You can also see them like here in the notes. But basically, I went through and said, for each of the characters, I want to have a secret. But some other things that you can review are what magic items do all the characters have? Magic items really matter, and it's helpful to you to know who's got what magic items so that you can show off those magic items, and particularly so you can make sure that those who don't have as many magic items as other people have an opportunity to pick up a magic item. So that's another thing you can review. And then another thing you can review are what kind of monsters are interesting for that character to fight mechanically. So are they really good at crowd control? Are they really good at blasting lots of monsters? Are they good at fighting great big dumb monsters? What are the kind of monsters that they can fight? And then you can drop those in. We call those lightning rods. But those are 3 ways that you can kind of review different things for the characters. Another one is when you're doing Theater of the Mind, if you're running battles in Theater of the Mind, if you're using Theater of the Mind as one of the many different ways you can run combat, one of the things you can do for Theater of the Mind when you come up with a creature or a NPC or something like that, that normally has a mechanic that is based on an area, is you can convert that mechanic into something that automatically hits some number of creatures. And you can choose that number of creatures based on the size of the area. Different books have this. The Dungeon Master's Guide, the 2024 Dungeon Master's Guide has this. The Tales of the Valiant Game Master's Guide has it. My own book, Lazy DM's Companion, has it. I think we have it in Forge of Foes as well. The idea of like, if you have an area, how many creatures can fall within that area? And what you can do is then convert the type of mechanic to one that just automatically hits those guys, so you don't have to have an argument with the player about it. The example is a blue dragon wormling normally fires lightning in a line, and the big question is who is in the line, but figuring out who's in the line in Theater of the Mind is a pain in the ass. So instead, you could just say it automatically hits 3 targets within 30 feet. That converts it from a line to something more like chain lightning, but you know that it should be able to hit 3 creatures with a line anyway, and if you lined it up correctly, you would be able to hit 3 creatures. The intention is that you can hit 3 creatures. So you can instead just say it does hit 3 creatures, and that gets rid of the argument of, oh, I wasn't in the line or I was in the line. That's something that you would worry about when you're fighting on a grid, but in Theater of the Mind, you just say it automatically hits 3 creatures. And the last tip is one that I've talked about before, which is the idea of the scenes step. So scenes is step 3 of the 8 steps of Return. And you can really pile a whole bunch of different things into your scenes. You can put NPCs in there. You can put locations in there. You can put treasure in there. You can put other things that you might put in other parts of your 8 steps can actually fall into scenes, which means your scenes can be this kind of catch-all step. Scenes really is a catch-all step. You could put everything in there. Adventure hooks can be in there. The 3 options for the direction that the characters are going to go can be in there. There's lots of things you can pack into scenes, and it's okay to pack it. You probably don't want to overload it too much, but you get to decide what you put in there, and you can put other things in there too. So those are your 3 tips from today's Lazy RPG Prep. Now, on with the show. So, in our last game, the characters were in the depths of the Pit of Unending Thirst, which was underneath a shrine in the city of Kukatarma. We should bring up a map. So here is a map of the region of the Dragon Empire where our campaign is taking place. They are down at the Gittagata Hills, great name, in a ruined city called Kukatarma. They've been here for a little while. They're probably going to hit 5th level when they come down here. And then the kind of the next phase of the campaign, I think, is going to take place. And we're going to have to kind of figure out exactly what that is. I know I've been heavily leaning into this whole like money train thing. I don't know how interesting that is to everybody or how interesting that will be if we hang on to it too much. So it may end up being more of a side thing than like a main drive of the campaign. But certainly like destabilizing the Dragon Empire is certainly something they want to do. And as they reach 5th level, they are in a better position to be able to do that. Tier 2, they're certainly in a better position to do that. So they're in Kukatarma, and they went to a shrine. Kukatarma was a city that tried to resist the Dragon Empire a couple of hundred years ago and failed to do so. In the desperation that they had, they sought out different kinds of magic to help them slay dragons, including dark magic, blood magic, and void magic, and other things, portal magic. They did anything that they could get their hands on, they did. So they had these like secret shrines that were underneath the shrines up top. They had these secret laboratories where they did things, one of them being the pit of unending thirst, where they dealt with dark gods like Mott and Vardazane and delved into things like blood magic to figure it out. In doing so, they created a puzzle box. They either created or found or acquired a puzzle box right out of Hellraiser. And this puzzle box had a creature in it named, what was the name of the creature? Cattell. Cattell is a chain devil who is a follower of Mott from Hell. And Cattell, so they got the puzzle box, they summoned Cattell, who helped them in a battle, and now Cattell is there kind of bound to one of the characters. And the puzzle box can actually open up a red portal. And the goal is to be able to open up the red portal. I think what we're going to do is open up that portal to the city of Nerderin or Sayaz. They get to pick which one. Nerderin is in one Dragon Empire thing, Sayaz is in another, and they can create this sort of 3-way red portal that makes it much easier for them to smuggle goods and people and other things from one place to the other. They got through, they recovered their spells, and they made their way out of the pit of unending thirst. And I think they rested in a nearby building. They decided they didn't want to go back and hang out with the weird portal mages of Hune, and said, we're gonna rest, we're gonna recuperate, and then we're gonna make our way to the Ziggurat of Thoth-Hermes, which is the next, that's actually where the portal actually exists. There is a red portal beneath Thoth-Hermes. And that's kind of the next stage of our adventure. So that is what we are going to focus on now. I'm going to create a new session notes. I'm using Obsidian to do my session planning. If you want to learn more about Obsidian, there are links in the show notes. Create a new from template, and we're going to do Dragon Empire. Bang. One little thing I did is I named, instead of just having a character section, I actually named what the name of the character party is. So that helps a bit. I believe Gaudenzia is out today, but I think I have all the other 6. We are also playing remote today. We are not playing in person. By the way, if you're listening to this, I will not be. One of the reasons we're playing remotely is I wanted to remove the potential vectors for getting sick, because I am going to a gaming convention next weekend. So I will not be doing any lazy GM prep next weekend. There will not be a show, and there won't be a live stream next week. So please keep that in mind. If you happen to show up and other people are confused, you can let them know. So we have our Drake, as we're going to do, we have our Drake Park Regulators are the name of the group. And the Regulators include Amavin. Amavin is a rogue spy that has worked with the Unseen. Perez the Unseen? I always get the dragons mixed up. Parsis the Hidden, ruler of Batek. So I think, and one of the things, there are many ways to focus on the characters. You know what I should do? I can actually open up that in a new tab. I don't use the tabs in Obsidian nearly as much, and I should, because they're really handy. So one of the things that I like to do when I'm doing my review of the characters, there are a lot of different things that you can review. This is probably a tip. So let's have tips from the show. And one of them is the many different things to review when reviewing the many different things to review when reviewing the characters is one of the tips. So what we can review, So there's a lot of different things you can review. When you're thinking about this stage 1, there's a reason why step 1 is review the characters, and that's to put the characters in your mind, so when you're building out the rest of your campaign or the rest of your adventure, you have them in your mind because they are the most important thing in the adventure. But there's a lot of different things that you can do. And a couple of things that you can do when you're reviewing the characters is, one, think about things like, have they gotten or do they have an interesting magic item or not, is one question. Like, do they, as long as they have like a good, interesting magic item, they're not left behind on magic items, that's something to review. Another question is, what are some interesting battle types that can show off that character? What do they like to do? Are they good against big single targets? Are they good against lots of monsters? Like, what's the lightning rod that would be effective? Do they like controlling things? Do they like taking over the minds of things? Those are some questions. Then, what is a secret? This is one that I'm going to do right now. What is a secret this character would know, or that might connect this character to the world around them? And I've talked about that character-driven secrets are one of the better, characters are one of the few sources for a secret that you can count on, because you know the characters are going to be in the game, right? Like, you don't know, if you have an NPC that has a secret, you don't know that NPC is going to have a big spotlight in the game, because they could like avoid the NPC. The NPC could die or anything could happen, and that NPC is not there anymore. But the characters are usually there. So what I usually like to do, one of the things that I do, is think about what are the character secrets that could come up. So for Amavin, for example, being a rogue that's connected to Parsis the Unseen, knows that Parsis has spies everywhere, including the other dragons. Wine fields were overtaken by a nasty royal, and wants revenge against the royal. So what is an interesting, probably, if we think about what region the winery was, probably in Batek, right? Because it wouldn't be out in Gizmiri. It could be in Mazar. And if we look at the Morza, is the ruler of Gizmiri. Parsis is the ruler of Batek. And so probably Ibelin, right? I think like, so a secret could be Cal's Winery, or what do we call vineyard? I don't know how to spell V-Y-N. I can't spell vineyard. Vard, that's right. Cal's Vineyard is in Mazar and under the control of Ibelin the Illustrious. I think Ibelin the Illustrious, being like one of the main antagonists, I think is a good one. So this one helps sort of solidify that it's up in the mountains of Mazar, and that would mean that Cal is more likely to know about the ruins of Nerdarin. And we have these all these 3-dot regions are ruins. So it could be in Paragon, I don't know how to spell Impriogon. Let's look at Impreo. So there's no description. There is only one match of Impriogon it's just a town. So I guess we get to make up whatever we want about Impriogon outside of the town of Impriogon. So that gives us a little bit of backstory. And in this case, we're helping the player who's not going to really have thought that part out. So I get to kind of say hey, you have a vineyard and it got taken over, and I bet you it's over in this area. And the nice thing about that is they'll be near the ruins of Nerdaron. Mateo is the mechanist who knows of the construction. And what do we say? The infusion magic used to create the red portals. So am I putting secrets in the character section? I put them wherever, but yeah, for the character secrets, I like to put them with the characters. I like to tie them directly to the characters. So lately I've been doing that. I also don't count them as secrets. So even though I'm going to have 6 of these, I'm still going to do 10 normal secrets. So it's a little extra stuff. Rowan is the dwarf fighter who, another question was where is Rowan from? So Rowan was almost conscripted to go fight in the wars. And I think I have a secret that I've used for a few sessions now. And but I don't think it's ever really come out. Yeah, and it knows about the great expense of the wars with the 7 cities. That's something that really hasn't come up, but I'm going to use that. Tolstoy is being called to become what are they called? So Mott was the name of I think I have a secret in here. They had a name for them. So Mott, let me go. Actually, we'll go back to my Dragon Empire section here. I have my faction list, which will open up in a new tab. And I think if we look at Mott, the potentate of Dragon Slayers, I think that Dragon Slayer potentate, right? I forget what potentate means. It means sort of like a ruler who is unconstrained by law. So that, I think that's a cool name, like a Dragon Slayer potentate. I lost my current notes. There we go. A Dragon Slayer potentate of Mott. Oh, my lookup window. We'll bring the map back. Boop. And then we have Emmert. I'd like to know more about Emmert. I'd like to talk to the player more about Emmert. So I don't have anything here, but I think this is a good opportunity to ask the player to describe more about what's going on with Emmert. So we got those. We have those character secrets. Where is the game going to start? So they've awoken. I think we can have something happen. Trying to get another line break in there. There we go. So something can happen along the way. I think for this, we will use the Game Master's Guide, and we're going to use the encounters in it. And we have a bunch of different random encounters. This is one of my tips from last week. And we'll actually use my dice to roll here. One of my tips from last week was that you can roll on different tables and kind of see what you get. Arctic obviously doesn't make sense, but Badlands does. And it's still tier 1. And it's a D12. So we're going to roll a 12-sided die. See what we get. 10. Unusually cunning giant poisonous snake bites its victim on the next. So I think I actually rolled this one last time, and I'm going to make an encounter based on this that they will run into on their way. But I think I want to have an event occur that's sort of like the strong start. So I'm going to roll again. 3. A bolt of chaotic magic lands near the PCs, momentarily softening the ground. Each creature in the area must succeed in DC 12 or become restrained in a foot deep ground as solidifies. A creature, including a restrained creature, can take its actions to free a restrained creature by succeeding. So why would a bolt of chaotic magic erupt here? Like, what could have happened? But okay, so I like that, right? Bolt and softens the ground. But why and so what? So we're actually I'm going to see about mixing this with another encounter. Coast doesn't make sense. Desert certainly does. So we'll roll a 12-sider here. Got 3 again. Ground before the PCs begin to shake. For a moment, they might think it's an earthquake, but then a blue dragon wormling emerges from the sand and attacks with its lightning breath before taking to the skies. So that could be pretty interesting. We could make an undead blue dragon wormling that was killed. I kind of dig that. Let's look at our blue dragon wormling here. Dragon blue. You know what I'm not looking forward to? I'm going to have to remember which book has what alphabetizing scheme whenever I'm using a particular book. Blue dragon wormling, CR3. The characters are now 4th level, and we have 6 of them. 4 times 6 is 24. So the max CR is 6. So we could actually drop, if we wanted to be on the outside, we could drop 2 of these. I think we might. 2 undead blue dragons, which is right at the deadly threshold. And we're going to put the page number in here, page 115. And let's do a quick look at the blue dragon wormling. So the blue dragon wormling is CR3, 68 hit points, AC 17. It can pounce, moves at least 15 feet straight to the creature. It hits with its claw on the same turn. The target must succeed or be knocked prone. A dragon makes 1 bite attack, 1 claw attack. A bite is 8 plus 3 lightning. A claw is 6. So, some damage. But then one of them's got like a lightning breath. 30-foot line, 5 feet wide. I'm going to have it hit like 2 creatures. And I'm going to do like a lightning fork instead. Because we're going to be doing Theater of the Mind and trying to figure out how a line lines up in Theater of the Mind is different. So instead you could say, how many creatures should it hit? 2. We're going to roll randomly. It's like, it forks its bolt. There's a tip. Here's a tip. It's our tips, right? Changing areas of effect for Theater of the Mind. So in this case, like you can replace, so you don't, what I don't want to do is have arguments with my players about whether they were in a line or not when we're running Theater of the Mind. We actually might have a battle map. Like I can use Owlbear Rodeo, but it's just a pain in the ass. Better, and especially for a battle like this, is the start of the game. I really don't want to set up a map. I don't want to do a big tactical thing. I want to just have a quick Theater of the Mind fight. And one way to avoid the arguments, I haven't really talked about this anywhere else. This is the first time. You're going to get this for the first time right here. One way to avoid the arguments about whether or not somebody was or was not in a line is to change the style of the effect, recognizing how many targets it should hit. So the example is a lightning breath from a blue dragon wormling is a 30-foot line that is 5 feet wide. I think in the Game Master's Guide, let's take a look. We have some guidance here written by probably one of the best designers that's ever been involved in this hobby. I don't know who they are, but they're fantastic. It's probably under Advanced Combat. Here we go. And I think in here, yes, look at this. We have these brilliant, sort of lines like what, how many can hit in an area. And we abstract the distances. Let's see. I think somewhere in here. I hope so. So a 20-foot radius. So we don't have. We have short lines. So 5 foot, 30 foot, 5 foot wide, 30 feet long. It says 3 creatures, right? And we have 6 characters. So I actually think 3 creatures is about right. So what we do is instead of arguing about whether or not somebody was in a line or not, we instead just say it forks to 3 targets within 30 feet. And I get to pick them. Or what I'm going to do is roll randomly. That way you get rid of all of the arguments about who was behind who was in a line. I want to move so I'm not in the line. And you say, this one isn't the line. The dragon raises its head and emits forth 3 bolts of lightning that hit 3 targets in 30 feet. And it doesn't matter the direction. It doesn't matter how close or near they are, how close they are to one another, nothing like that. And that way you're avoiding all of the painful conversations about who it is. And still affecting the same number of creatures that it should affect based on whoever wrote these incredible guidelines. I mean, just look how immaculate they are. I don't think anybody could argue with any of these. I don't think, they're perfect. I don't know what to say. I'm going to cry a little bit. I think I'm getting a little teary-eyed. They're so good. I wrote them. That was a joke because I wrote them. So back to our notes. So that's pretty good. And what this shows, so the chaos magic blasts through and softens the ground. The crawling out of the ground come 2 undead blue dragons, right? 2 undead blue dragon wormlings, which were there for the war and died centuries ago. They're like 300 years old, buried under the ground. But that tells us things. There's a story here. And the story is that there's, chaotic magic still loose in Kukatarma. And that there are beneath the ground are the dead. So this is like a secret and clue, right? Chaos magic still emanates throughout Kukatarma. And many dead from the dragon wars lie beneath the scorched ground. I can't spell emanate. There we go. All right, so we got a fun, strong start, big fight. And that's great. And that's our first. So undead blue dragons. And this is right at their campsite, right? So like they're camping for the night, everything's fine, then bang, this whole thing happens. I think is a really good strong start. And it's going to be a hard fight and it is going to eat some time, but that's okay. I think people generally like the strong start with a fight because they're like, I know I get to use my character right away. And 2 undead blue dragons I think is a good fight for 6 characters, 6 level 4 characters. I think it's going to be great. Then they're making their way the chained pillars of Mott. And this is where we'll probably introduce an NPC. Let's get a quick NPC here. Who's like a priest of Mott. Oh, I like this. A goblin. Do we have a goblin? I think we have the what's her name is a goblin, so we're not going to do a goblin. A dragonborn, except why what? Oh, no, we wouldn't really have a dragonborn out here. We have a human, we have a kobold, Clancy Nightcloud. I like Clancy Nightcloud, the cautious halfling, who is actually now a halfling caller, halfling herald of Mott. And at the chain pillars of Mott, there are these big chains where sanguine, and we can put some location details in here. So we have chain pillars, chained, writhing, sanguine cultists summoning, or we have a arcane circle. And what else? Is there any other feature we have here? So there's not going to be a battle or anything. And basically, Clancy Nightcloud, the halfling herald, is going to say, I can hear Mott, and I can hear you're a possessor of Cattell. Do if you go into the circle and kneel down and give a blood sacrifice to Mott, you can become you can be the thing that you want, which is to become a Dragon Slayer potentate of Mott. And that can be kind of like a new character thing. And I'm almost 100% sure Tolstoy will absolutely make that sacrifice. Is it evil? I don't know if it's evil, but kinda. So we'll see. I think that will be the scene. Then approaching, well, then the scene will be the Ziggurat of Thoth-Hermes. And then they'll crawl the Ziggurat, right? So those are really the scenes, crawling the Ziggurat. We'll just say that. And then we're going to just write some features down here. So I'm cheating because I'm moving some fantastic locations into the scenes section, right? If you notice, there are 2 locations in the scenes section, which is fine. Scenes is a catch-all. Here's a tip. We'll add that to the talk show. So scenes are kind of the catch-all. You can put anything in scenes, and you can include NPCs. Right? We have Clancy Nightcloud. We have notable NPCs. We could easily put them up in scenes, and then not bother to put them under notable NPCs. Right? We can basically skip 2 sections by jamming them up in scenes. Elizabeth, if you're there, this was actually a trick that you kind of showed me when you did your analysis of the adventure outlines that are inside the 2024 Dungeon Master's Guide. And my thought was we've been focused on having the scenes. We've been focusing on having each of the sections broken out in their own sections. And I still think it's useful to do it that way. But you can also combine them together like this. I know that Clancy Nightcloud, the Halfling Herald Lamont, is going to be at the Chain Pillars. I know that's going to be the case. And I know that if one of the scenes is crawling the Ziggurat of Thoth-Hermes, I can also put a couple of features about the Ziggurat of Thoth-Hermes up here in scenes and then not have to bother putting it in fantastic locations. It makes my notes a little thinner, right? A little cleaner. I don't know if it's cleaner because you're kind of mashing things together, but it makes them smaller, which could be good. So the crawling of the Ziggurat of Thoth-Hermes, and then we have giant bird-headed statues. We'll have a giant dead dragon skull. All right, so just a couple of features to help tell me what that looks like when they get there. So I've got that. I don't think I was going to say, secrets and clues really should be their own section, but then of course you just saw that the Drake Park regulators have secrets and clues buried in their character side. And really, if I was in a hurry, I could not have to. I could use those as secrets and then not have to put 10 other secrets in there because I'm already revealing a bunch of secrets. But I have some other ones, and let's see. I'm going to open this up in a new tab. So I have both my old notes and my new notes. And in the old notes, we can look through what learned. The gateway opening up to a portal exists hidden in the depths of the Ziggurat of Thoth-Hermes. They already know that. Lord of Unending Thirst was worshipped. We know that. The Kandaharians brought a devil named Not with a puzzle box. We know that. Mot, the god of eternal death. A high potential to dragon slayers. We already know that. I might grab that one and put it in here because if they learn more about Mot, because they're going to see a shrine to Mot. That can't hurt. Ibelin the Illustrious is heavily engaged in current holding of Krypton and Rumela taken from the 7 cities. This is actually kind of like Rowan's secret. So I'm going to replace Rowan's secret with that one. Parsis is the Morza establishing the illicit artifact train to Nuri Natal. Parsis is the most tricky of the Morza. Puzzle box of Catel can open a red portal to the ruins of Nerdarin and Syaz. I think that is a good. I don't know that they know that yet. And then we have the ruins of Nerdarin and the ruins of Syaz. Both of those are good secrets. So we're going to keep those. Those are information about those other places. Thoth-Hermes, and then this is a good one because they're going to they're going to Thoth-Hermes. They're going to the Ziggurat of Thoth-Hermes, so we want to have some Thoth-Hermes lore here. So those are some good secrets. It looks like 1, 2, 3, that's 6. So we got 4 more to do. 4 more things that they could learn while they're going around. We also have the map for the Ziggurat of Thoth-Hermes. Let me pull that up in a new window here. So here's the map of the location that they're gonna go to. And the interesting thing is they walk all the way up these steps, and we're gonna have these huge bird-headed statues that are flanking it either way. That takes them up to the first level. Obviously, I need some more information about, I need to fill in some of these details because I don't think I've got enough information here. Like what is that statue? So the statue could be of one of the, we're going to go back to, there's no Avalon Dazdoro, who was a Nurian high priest of Thoth-Hermes. And we know that Thoth-Hermes, wise creator of language, lord of merchants, patron of scholars, master of the things, and a green and white feather quill with green ink. So we'll have him holding a book and a quill So that's kind of in the entryway that is not on this map. That will be right in here. Then they go down to this next area, and I think I did fill out these. The grand vestibule, I think is what I wrote here. Wow, I don't know what that is. Oh, library and statues. So we could have an artifact. So what is protecting this place? So animated bird-headed statues. This is kind of like in the monster section. Animated spell books, chaotic spell books. Could be another. Like, what are the things that they're going to run into here? Specters, learned specters is a good one. Dragon Slayer, whites would be a good one. When you're breaking into like do they have a flame skull in Monster Vault? I don't think they have a flame skull. Flame skulls are actually not in the SRD. There was another. At one point, I should actually go through the whole Monster Vault and see all the monsters that it's got. But we can go down to the challenge rating section and take a look. So we have by challenge rating, by tag, by terrain. I don't see them by creature type. Isn't that interesting? So is that in the Game Master's Guide? It's got to be a way to see creatures by. Oh, I bet you it's at the top. It would be a crazy omission if they didn't have creatures by. There's a lot of stuff in the early section of the creature guide, including the encounter building. By the way, Monster Vault, best encounter building guidelines ever published in a 5e variant. I don't know who wrote those either, but brilliant. Whoever it is a brilliant person. Here we go. So we have by undead. And this is something that's super useful. What other creatures can you find with these creatures? Super useful, right? Allies, right? Darrow have bats, demon. This is super useful. So useful. Take note, because not everything has this. Spoilers. So what kind of skeletons do they have? So they don't list them out. They list them out alphabetically, but by type. I'm looking for like a ranged attacking. So we could have will-o-wisps. Will-o-wisp would make sense. I've already done shadows a bunch. There was something I saw. There's some creature I saw. Maybe was it a construct? It might have been a construct. Let's take a look at monstrosity though. There was a unique creature that I saw in Tales of the Valiant, in the Monster Vault specifically, and I was like, ooh, that looks like a fun ranged attacking kind of thing. But I can't find it. Let me just go down to I'm going to go to this. Let's see. Sealings, no. Selkie, no. Starcrow. Is it weirdlings? No, not weirdlings. So the weirdlings are kind of neat. Could throw some weirdlings at them. They're psychic attackers. They do 13 damage on a hit. They pronounce the fate, fortune, or doom of one creature it can see. The target rolls a d4 and adds a fortune or subtracts dooms and the number rolled to its next attack. That's kind of fun. Call on fate. When a weirdling is attacked by a creature it can see, it can pluck the strands of fate around the creature, imposing disadvantage on the attack roll if the attack misses. That's interesting. Read fate. We're going to spend 1 minute communing with the fate. Like, these are creatures of fate. And they've come here to Thoth-Hermes. Sure, why not? Those look cool. Weirdling Lore Seekers. And they're on page 327. Was it Wicker Beast? I swear I saw another. There was another cool, like, range-based critter that I saw. I can't remember what it was. It's a bummer. I was just flipping through the book. I was like, oh, look at that. I was like, it was something that I thought like, oh, it's got some nice ranged attack stuff that it does. It would fit well as like if you needed a flame skull. But I can't do it. Well, let's take a look at will-o-wisp. So will-o-wisps are normally fey kind of creatures. We could definitely do a will-o-wisp, though. We'll do that as our 6. So that gives us some monsters that they might face here. What are some other secrets? The Kukatarmas were desperate for powerful magic to defend their city against the dragons. Not a fantastic secret. I can't spell worth a damn. There we go. And raided the powerful magics held in the Ziggurat. That's a little bit better, a little bit more contextual. Any other information that we need about, that the characters could learn while they're going through these vaults? I have another forbidden library. I've already done forbidden libraries. I think I'm gonna, I need something else. But they would have a lot of like knowledge and lore, and some artifacts would be here. So it makes sense that this would be like the place that they did it. But there's probably also some sort of like devastating traps. I put the vault of the vault of the cube is where the cube used to be. Could be an interesting thing. So we could have that what's her name, who's a notable Sister Athelia. So I think, let's see. I'm going to grab all these NPCs and I'm going to move them into my notes. Fame's Worm Watcher was the Urmanli governor of Ibelin, the illustrious who took Cal's vineyard. It's kind of a piece of lore that we want to keep around. Sister Athelia, we have Cattell. Vincent Blackspell is the dwarven cult fanatic of the Sanguine Path. And then Brother Cleo, Cloud Soother, is the priest of Hune. I probably don't need Brother Cleo, and I think he's going to come up in this. Sister Athelia made it down to the lower level to recover the first half of Cattell's of the puzzle box. Was routed by strange, tattooed Sylvan folk who spoke to her of her imminent death. What else? So portal magic, red portal magic, or let's see. I think this is kind of a thing for Mateo can construct keys to open the red portal for others to travel through. I think that's a good one. Red portals seem to travel instantaneously between locations, but in the cracks between lie other worlds, dark and light, including hell itself. There we go. Okay, so I got some secrets. So other locations. So one of the things we can do is we got this map of the different spots, and there's a lot of chambers in here that are kind of like not filled out particularly well. I don't really, I mean, I could probably improvise it, but I'd like to have a little bit more. The Game Master's Guide has good tables for like building dungeons and things like that, if you can find them. Where are they? I don't know why I have trouble finding them in here. We're just going to scroll through till I find it. There's a whole bunch of good tables for is it under Mapping Your World? No. Dungeons, page 84. So this is where we get some good tables to help us fill in things about our dungeon that we might not otherwise come to us. I don't need the passages and doors and door details and stairs and secret doors and stuff like that. I need more like room descriptions. And, a lot of this is sort of like the roll your own dungeon. But so these are the ones that I think are particularly useful. So like Polanier gates, right? This Polanier gate list is pretty great. And this is in the Game Master's Guide on page 94. And there's a bunch of different types of dungeons and a bunch of different rooms that could be in those types. And in just like the random encounter tables, we can also mix up, we can look from different lists to see, use different lists to see what chambers make sense for the area that we're going to go in. So an armory, and what I'm going to do, because I don't want to use up a lot of potential chambers, and I'm going to make a list. Whoops, not great. There we go. So armory could be a good room list. We have audience chamber, banquet hall, barracks, chapel. I would go shrine, right? A cistern, guard room, kennel, kitchen, prison, workshop. I'll put laboratory, smithy, workshop, storage, throne room, torture chamber, training room. We could have a classroom. That's a good one. So sometimes you just read them and you get ideas. Privy is always a good one. You can always stick ochre jellies and black puddings in privies. That's a trick. There's a tip for you. I don't think I'm putting that on the list. I don't know what the hell an antechamber is. Embalming chamber. We could have a crypt. There could be a crypt down here. A gallery. What we're doing is trying to find like what rooms make sense for the Ziggurat of Thoth-Hermes, this god of knowledge and learning. That works. What I don't know, a load. So the mines probably don't work. Polanier gates, definitely. Like Polanier gates is great. Armory, barracks. Do we have barracks? Chapel, cistern, divination room. That could be good. Guest chambers, kitchen, prison, private chambers, smithy, workshop, storage, vault, and washroom. It's kind of funny. Polanier gate has like these pretty mundane rooms. I don't think of mazes, strongholds. I think that's probably enough. We could have a fount of knowledge, meditation cells. This Templar Shrine one is really good. And then what's interesting is then they have like a big one, which is, I think, all of them together into one, which is their general dungeon chambers. So these pages I think are really useful. I really like these. I think the chambers that have sort of more specific stuff, like door detail, right? I don't think I need door detail. Maybe it's just me, but that feels like that's a level of resolution that is too small for me. Room contents, I think, are useful. Like, what's the room? And I can come up with the rest of it. I can decide like what kind of door makes sense for an armory. I don't need to like roll a table for that. I bet you if I roll, it's not going to make sense. So that's good. So I've got my fantastic locations there. Notable NPCs, I've got that. Monsters, I've got that. Treasure. So we are going to use my treasure generator because I like it better. This is tier 1 treasure. Bang. And we have, these look fine. It would be nice to decide if to have some knowledge stuff here. And one question, an important question that I need to ask the characters is, what magic items do they currently have? I really ought to make a list of what magic items they have. I'm going to put that up on my list here. And I'm looking through here to see, are there any kind of cool, a medallion of thoughts. While you're wearing this ornate medallion, you can use an action to expend one of 3 charges to cast Detect Thoughts. Is there a medallion of thought? Is that one of the magic items? Let's go to no spreads. A helm of telepathy, which is that one's not bad. So if they don't have a medallion of thoughts, they do have a medallion of thoughts. Okay, so we're gonna put that in. Are we gonna replace? What are we gonna replace? I think that'd be a fun artifact. These gloves of swimming and climbing. Those no, because they have so many ways to climb. They don't really need that. All right, that is pretty good. So I got my treasure. So I think I'm all set. Right? So I've got my characters, my strong start, my scenes, my secrets and clues, fantastic locations, a few notable NPCs, monsters, treasure. And then I've stuck some secret other things in other parts of the ship and in other parts of the notes. So I think we are all set. Friends, I want to thank all of you for hanging out with me today while we prepped my game. If you enjoyed the show and you want to see more stuff like this, the best way to do so is to subscribe to the Sly Flourish newsletter. You can find a link to it in the show notes. It is absolutely free to sign up. You get a free adventure generator PDF for signing up that includes a micro version of 5e, and you get a weekly article with links to all of the other work that I do, sent to you every week. You can also support me directly on Patreon. Patrons get access to all kinds of awesome rewards, including a bunch of different tools, a bunch of tools that I showed off today, like the random generator tool, the dice roller everybody gets, but like NPC generation, treasure generation, lots of tools to help you build out your game. Lots of different little scenarios. I'm extending the City of Arches through a bunch of different supplements on the Patreon. Lots of stuff like that. And you get to join the Lazy DM community over on Discord. And you get to support me when the work that I do here. You can also pick up any of my books, including Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master, the Lazy DM's Workbook, Forge of Foes, Lazy DM's Companion, City of Arches, and more at the Sly Flourish bookstore. Thank you so much. Have a great day and get out there and play an RPG.